This podcast is produced by the Deer Tribe Métis Medicine Society. Copyright DTMMS, all rights reserved. Materials may not be used without written permission.
The Sweet Medicine SunDance Path is a mystery school that offers shamanic knowledge and practices for anyone seeking personal growth, spiritual awakening, and evolution through interconnectedness. Today, the wheels and keys, the teachings, practices, and ceremonies are available at workshops, events, and ceremonial gatherings in various countries around the planet. So welcome back to our conversation. This is Nicola Samad. We're talking about the Sweet Medicine SunDance Path and the gateway process, about apprenticeship, and we're going to go into levels of apprenticeship. And we're so lucky to have with us as our information expert about all of these things is Razel Wolf. She's a teacher and an author of this on this path, and so she's the ideal person to ask for these things. So, Razel, can you tell us about the levels of commitment within apprenticeship?
Yes. Hi, Nicola. Thank you. I'd like to just do a very brief recap. Just in case you missed podcast number 5, where we went into the gateway process and also opportunities for seekers in quite in depth. So just to say a few words about that, and then we'll pick up with your question, Nicola. This particular Sweet Medicine SunDance Path has many, many opportunities for those of us that are spiritual seekers. Many things that are open to the public, things that are online, intensive ceremonial events that can last from 5 days to 14 days, all kinds of opportunities to learn about yourself and grow and expand inside of your spiritual aspect. Also within the Sweet Medicine SunDance, we have what is called the Gateway Path, the Gateway Journey. And as we've spoken about, this is a very carefully designed program that begins at a beginning point and supports anybody that wants to engage the Gateway Path through their evolutionary growth. Now, for people that are in the public, that are seekers, that gateway path is opened through the first gateway, which has about 12 ceremonies in it, and through about half of the second gateway. So that's about 6 or so ceremonies in the second gateway. And clearly, when one chooses to be an apprentice, this is a commitment to yourself, to your own growth. And the way you choose to continue your journey is also very individual. There's a beautiful series of gateway ceremonies to do. There's incredible teachings that go along with those ceremonies to sort of like fill in the grease in between the cogs so that the machine is really rolling smoothly. And each one of us gets to choose the pace and the amount of things that we wish to engage in our journey in the Gateway Path.
So within that once one has apprenticed, there then is levels of within that apprenticeship as we go through further into the gateway process. Can you speak a little to that?
Yeah, so as we journey through the gateways, if we choose to do that, someone can be an apprentice and do the gateway ceremonies in the first gateway. And then maybe they're going to do an annual ceremony, or maybe they're going to go to community purification lodges, and that's as far as they like to take it. Somebody else may become an apprentice and go all the way through, say, for example, the first 3 gateways of ceremony. And that's like a significant number of ceremonies. And the journey and the growth that we gain as we move through those first 3 gateway ceremonies is, you have to experience it to know what it really gives you, but it is broad. And we become brighter, we become relaxed, we become more mature. In that process, moving through the first three gateways of ceremonies, there is a level of commitment because part of our training involves learning how to become a leader. And so we have inside of those gateway journeys different levels of leadership training that can happen simultaneously with the gateway process. And gosh, if any one of us on this in this episode has ever experienced leadership training, you've got to know what a great stretch that is and how much that calls you to rise. I like to say to rise to the occasion, to be the best that we can possibly be, knowing that we're, of course, in our journey of learning, we're going to make mistakes and that we can learn from our mistakes and then continue to grow some more. So if you choose to move on in your commitment through the third gateway, then you're going to be exposed to levels of leadership training as well. And so then as a person continues, should they choose to continue, the different levels of leadership encourage us to expand our breadth of knowledge and our ability not only to grow ourselves, but also to support others in their growing. And so that's part of the leadership training is we learn how to work with others in their growth. And I have to say that for myself, it is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had is learning to support people in their own growth. Because, amazingly enough, what that does for me is helps me grow more. So I'm never at the edge of learning. I'm never done growing. And in this commitment to my commitment, for example, to my gateway path, I have learn and learn and learn. One of the things that's mentioned about our Sweet Medicine SunDance Path is that it's often referred to as a warrior's path because the information, the ceremonies, and everything that is available supports our own inner transformation, encourages us to be courageous in who and how we are in our presence, that we are encouraged to integrate the knowledge so that it's not just surface stuff that we can repeat like a parrot, but it's actually something that is changing our internal substance. And that in that integration, we learn how to be authentic. We learn how to speak our truth. We learn how to cut through illusions and become more self-aware. And we also learn how to communicate with one another with heart, so that as we're expressing what needs to be expressed, it's done with the intent of creating a heart-to-heart relationship. And that then supports each one of us to be mindful in our actions. So that's a little peek into some of the levels of commitment that we may choose to take.
So one piece that I was thinking about particularly is we do have like that inner change of substance that's happening through identifying and releasing what we call molding, sculpting, and armoring, which is in usual language conditioning. Most people understand what that is. And we have these wonderful phrases that's speaking about the book of life of someone as their a life's journey. Yes, that's the life journey of that person from birth to death. And this movement of releasing and letting go is kind of, we call it erasing personal history. And that kind of commitment also is necessary, is it not, in the gateway process for an apprentice?
It is, Nicola. Erasing personal history. It's a very interesting concept. I'd like to explain it, and I referenced it a little while ago. I mentioned that I think that I have created my persona of Razel Wolf to be a very groovy, cool person, and I like who I am, right? And what I learned in this lineage is that as groovy and as cool as I think I am, there's still quite a limitation to who I really am. And so when we talk about erasing personal history, what we're talking about is erasing the limitation of who we think we are. That we are much more than, for example, the persona of Razel Wolf that is here in this lifetime. And that when I go through my entire book of life of having been born, having grown, and having died, Razel Wolf will exist in this capacity no more. That's the end of Razel Wolf. However, my essence will continue on. The essence of who I am will be fed into who I become. And so there is so much more to me than the persona of Razel Wolf. And that is the concept of embracing erasing personal history. I remember the first time I heard this concept, I was deeply offended because I'd worked so hard to become who I am. And I was like, oh no, don't tell me. But as I explored the concept of who am I when I'm not limited by the great things that I've done so far and the not so great things that I'm holding on to in my conditioning? Who am I? And when I started to explore that, I realized that my potential was far more than I had given myself credit for. And it opened such a level of understanding of what my potential really is as a human being. That also happens within the journey of the gateway process.
Coming up next, more with Razel Wolf about the Sweet Medicine SunDance Path, the gateway process, and other opportunities for seekers to engage with.
This program is brought to you by DTMMS, the Deer Tribe Métis Medicine Society.
I do enjoy the ceremonies and all the teachings. I'm really looking forward to the healing that I can do inside my own self, and also the community is amazing.
I'm looking forward to learning new things, finding out about myself. I'm looking forward to evolving.
The spiritual connection to Great Spirit and to all things magical. These are the things that are most important to me right now.
So welcome back to our conversation with Razel Wolf. I think one of the things that also you did touch upon, but I'd like to open it up a little bit more, is that once one is in the fourth gateway, you spoke about leadership, yeah? And that my understanding is that we learn to be good leaders, but first is good leadership of ourself, yes? And then through moving into the next level, so to speak, the focus is more on giving back, making a difference in the world, making a difference in our circles, in our collective, that there is a total connection between our gifts that we are discovering and allowing our training and our skills to then, as you mentioned, to assist others in their spiritual growth, but always also to give our gifts. So if we're not really interested in doing that in the gateway process, being another spiritual guide, but we want to do something else, it also allows us to really grab hold of the gifts that perhaps even we haven't discovered yet and show that shining to the world, and therefore do our part to give into the collective. So I'm just wondering, is there some pieces there that we could speak or you could speak about?
I'd love to, Nicola. It's a really beautiful part of what our lineage supports us to grow into. So yes, as a spiritual seeker, I desire to learn and to grow. And at a certain point, the abundance that I have been given, the gifts that I've been given, the knowledge that I've integrated, the ceremonies that have helped me change, that abundance, it just needs to come back out. It needs to be returned. It needs to be shared. And the way that we can share, we call it, we have a couple of different words that we use to name that giving back. We call it maku, we call it kiri, and both of these things imply that what I have naturally to give, or what I am discovering that I have naturally to give, is mine to share. So that all that I have received is now, it's kind of like an apple tree, so an apple tree grows and grows and grows, and then it has apples, and the apples drop on the ground, and the apples rot, and then the seeds go into the ground, and now a new tree is coming up, is growing. When we have been given so much nurturance and capability to grow ourselves, it is natural that we will want to, and actually even need to, give something back. The how of that giving back needs to really resonate for each one of us, because it's not meant to be a sacrifice or a burden, but our giving back needs to be our beauty, our shining, our love, our passion. And that can take many, many different forms. I think probably if anybody who's watching this can see that one of my passions is these teachings, and that my giving back, this is like a natural thing for me to give back because I love it so much. I'm not burdened here at all. I hope that's really clear. And so each one of us will find what it is for us that we desire to give and to share.
Yeah, because the once we get into the higher gateways, the medicine training is quite demanding, and the requirements of excellence in leadership are high. So you really, really, really do have to. It has to be your passion to really want to go for it. But that isn't the only way that we can shine and give of our skills. This can still be within our maku is basically whatever it is that we are passionate about, really.
Absolutely. I mean, I have wonderful people that I work with that put all of their passions, say, into the music that they create. They're singers and they're musicians by nature. And that perhaps was even their first profession. And they put all of their joy, all of the gifts that they've been receiving into that artistic expression. I have other people that I work with that have their own businesses. And maybe it's something as, commonplace as like a CPA kind of business or a bookkeeping kind of business. But the way that they work with their clients takes a different leap. It takes a different quality of benevolence, of understanding. And so they're able to put into their business all the maturation that they've gained through their gateway journey.
Stay tuned to hear more with Razel Wolf.
Healing for me is a lifelong process. And inside of this particular program, there are many very, what would I call it, pragmatic and also magical approaches to create healing inside of oneself. It's critical that each one of us as a human being find what is going to feed us, what is going to support us in our own healing and growing.
This program is brought to you by DTMMS, the Deer Tribe Métis Medicine Society.
So welcome back to our conversation with Razel Wolf. We've explained the gateway process and apprenticeship. Let's take a moment now to speak about what we can offer those who are interested in the Sweet Medicine SunDance Path and would love to have an opportunity to study the wheels and keys, but without committing to an apprenticeship. Razel, what can you tell us?
There are so many opportunities. That's what I can say right off the bat to study, to investigate, and it's a really good way to approach what this knowledge is about and what it has to offer, and if it really resonates for you. So one of the programs that I didn't speak about yet that's available for seekers is called the Red Lodge Longhouse. And the Red Lodge Longhouse is a program that lasts a year, and there are potentially 2 years that a person that's a seeker can enjoy and study. And the Longhouse program is being held currently in Italy, in Australia, and in Phoenix, Arizona, or actually Scottsdale, Arizona. And what it consists of is a very fundamental look at what is in the basics, the foundational teachings of this lineage, as well as some of those initial gateway ceremonies that we spoke about earlier in the first and the second gateway. There's just a plethora, an array of different ways that seekers I just have to mention this. Recapitulated shamanic de-armoring is amazing one-time in your lifetime event where you work with that conditioning that has gotten stuck in your body as armor, and you break down that conditioning, that physical armor in your body, as well as a beautiful 5-day ceremony called the Womb of Benevolent Compassion that works with harmonizing the energy between the feminine and the masculine on our planet and within ourselves. So those are just a few that we have on offer.
We definitely need some of that these days, right?
We do. We really do.
So I also did want to mention that we also have the lodges around the world that also are offering different year programs with exactly the same fundamental teachings that we, just in case there are people who are not in Italy or not in Australia and not in America who are listening. But you can go to the Deer Tribe, the DTMMS website, and you can find where we are all over the world. Well, thank you, Razel, for joining us. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. And before you go, I'm just wondering, is there something you would like to share with our viewers, our listeners?
Thank you, Nicola. There is one thing I really want to share, and that is that my experience of being a human being at this time on the planet is that there are lots of challenges, or another way to put it, opportunities for each one of us in our individual lives and then also on a global level. And I think what I really want to share with everyone is that as we are here now, that we each find our own way to live a life that is as filled with beauty and compassion and benevolence as we possibly can. And that part of how we do that is we ensure that we are feeding ourselves, that we are balanced inside of our emotions, our body, our minds, our spirit, and in our life force. And so anybody that's been listening, if you're considering beginning your studies or continuing your journey with the spiritual realm, I say have at it, grow and prosper, and give some of that beauty back to the world around you. And that's what I'd like to share with everybody. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you for joining us. And it's been good to speak with you, Razel. And I look forward to speaking with our other leaders of our Sweet Medicine SunDance Path. I hope that you will join us. For more information about DTMMS and the Sweet Medicine SunDance Path, go to our website at dtmms.org. You'll see a calendar of events and our international offerings. You can also email dtmms@dtmms.org to answer any questions. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, and iHeartRadio. Thank you for tuning in to DTMMS TV. If you liked what you heard, then thumbs up and share, please.